Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today we're going to bring you a single stack 9mm comparison. The availability of very small, compact, single stack guns in capable calibers like 9mm has become fairly common, and it gives those who want to do some deep conceal options better than some of the prior calibers like 25 and 32. So for each one of these guns that we're going to show you, we've got a Car PM9, we've got a Glock 43, and we've got a Walther PPS. We've also done full videos on each one of these. I'll put links in the description of this video linking you to those if one of these catches your eye and you want to get a little more information about it. For this video, I'm going to kind of go over the differences between them and why you might look at one versus the other. I'll start out with the Car. This is the PM9, as I mentioned, and I'm starting out with the most expensive one in the lineup. This is around $600 plus for the basic one. It does come in a couple variations. You can get it with night sights like this one has, and you can see they are good night sights in that they do have the white ring around the tritium, so you can see them very well in the day, and of course they're night sights so you can see them well at night. They're tritium powered, so they don't have to be charged by being put in the light. These add about $100, $150 to the cost of the gun, and I'll show you what the sights would look like if you didn't buy the night sights. I've got this CW45, and it has the same basic sights you would get if you bought the standard sights, and you'll see it's a barred out arrangement. They're very clear, they're very easy to see, but that's what they would look like. And just to give you a rough idea too, they do have a version of this called the CM9 that's less expensive. It's about half the price. And it loses a few of the luxury features. It loses the polygonal rifling. The takedown lever is MIM instead of being milled. And the slide's not quite as sculpted. You'll see it's a little bit more angular on this one. The CM9 would be very similar to this. Still a very high quality gun. It just loses some of the the very nice decorative and luxury features. So you can get the capability and the quality of the PM9 in a less expensive package. One thing you may note, though, the polygonal rifling in the PM9 does help it stabilize varying different bullet weights with its very short barrel. This gun, it shoots everything we've put through it. It does have a very heavy slide, and it kind of stacks a little bit as you get further back. It's a little bit heavier to pull, so if you have weaker hands, you may have a hard time pulling this slide back and cycling it. It does smooth out as it breaks in. The Car has a break-in period. They tell you right in the manual. Probably look at putting 250 rounds through it, and it may malfunction in the very beginning, but once you get through the break-in period it runs very smoothly. And I wouldn't hold that against the gun. This is one of those things when you're trying to do something this small, you're going to have very tight, precise tolerances, and something like that is going to have a bit of a break-in period. Overall, this has been a very good gun. Comes with the flush magazine, which gets you 6+1, and there's an extended magazine which gets you 7+1. Now you'll note there is a bit of a base plate on the extended magazine, and you can rest your pinky on it, but it's not truly a pinky extender in that it doesn't extend the grip. You can put your pinky on it, it won't cause the mag to malfunction, but it's not contoured into the grip in any way. Next gun in the lineup that I'll show you is right in the middle of the size range, and that is the Glock 43. Glock 43 is a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier than the Car, but not a whole lot heavier and larger. You can see I set it in my hand, and I'll put the three of them, later in the video I'll put the three of them right next to each other and you can really get a good view of it. This is also a striker fired gun. It's also 6+1, but the operating mechanism on that is very similar to any other Glock. It works the same as all the other ones. The trigger is a little bit heavier than some of the bigger Glocks. It does have the split trigger, it does have all the drop safeties, and it has the classic Glock U-dot sights. Now, unlike some of the current Glock Generation 4 Glocks, this does not have the replaceable back straps. This basically, the grip is what you see is what you get. It does come with a pinky extender magazine that does actually contour in with the grip, do a nice job of extending it, but you'll see it's just an extender on the base. You don't get any additional capacity. It's still just 6+1. And it comes with one of these pinky extenders and one without. Other than that, the functionality of this is very similar to any other Glock. The last one in the lineup is the Walther PPS. It's actually the least expensive in the lineup. It's around $400 now. They were in the $500 to $600 range, and the price was very recently dropped on them. They're not discontinuing them, but they are coming out with a newer model of it. It's still going to be the PPS, and they're changing a few things. This is a relatively new PPS, but it's still the original PPS model. And it still has the paddle release, which is truly ambidextrous. You can operate it from either side, either with your trigger finger or your offhand, and it operates very smoothly. And you pull the magazine out. This, like the Glock and the car, is a drop-safe weapon. Like the Glock, it does have the split trigger. And it does have replaceable back straps. This is the only one in the lineup that does come with the replaceable back straps. And it has a 3-dot sight arrangement, which I'll show you there. They're very bright, they're very clear, they're easy to see. These are not night sights, they're just standard sights. And let me show you the triggers, because the triggers are very different on each one of them. So I'm going to pull the magazines, and I'll show you that it is clear. Okay. We'll start with the car. And by the way, we did put a grip sleeve on this. When you get into the smaller grips, especially the non-adjustable ones, it all depends on the size of your hand, where your hand fits on it, and the length of pull. And we had to put this grip on here to adjust the length of pull just a little bit to get it to be comfortable to shoot. It wasn't uncomfortable to shoot without it, but just with our hands it didn't fit quite well. So any of these smaller guns, be prepared to possibly make some adjustments to make them fit your hand well. So we'll show you this trigger. The trigger is a fairly long trigger. It is a striker fired gun, but it has a DAO-like trigger. A little bit of take-up. Very smooth and relatively light pull, and then a crisp break. From a reset perspective, the reset is almost all the way out. You hear a click right there. These aren't meant to be competition guns or range guns, even though this one is actually quite pleasant to shoot at the range. But they're meant for concealed carry, pocket carry, things like that. So the trigger is actually a very nice trigger. It's just a little bit longer than the others, and of course has that longer reset. It is a metal trigger, by the way, so it's a very high quality trigger. Now we'll move on to the Glock. And the Glock trigger is very similar in the pull characteristics of all the other Glocks. It is a little bit heavier. It's a couple pounds heavier than your regular Glocks. But you have a minor amount of take-up, a nice distinct wall, then a short crisp break, and then a relatively short reset. And then that would all the way back out. So I'll pull the trigger again, move my finger so you can see better. Nice crisp wall, fairly short reset, and then back out. So this one, if you're a Glock shooter, if you carry a Glock 26, or if you're in law enforcement and you carry one of the service size Glocks and you want to use this for concealed carry or backup, you're going to already be familiar with the operation of this. And now we'll show you the PPS. The PPS also has a nice trigger. It has a little bit more take-up than the Glock, but not a whole lot. It does have a crisp break, but it's a little bit longer break. You can feel the break a little bit longer. Now I will note that this gun's only got about 100 rounds through it, so the trigger hasn't had a chance to smooth out and break in. I know that on the other one that we've got, the trigger is smoothed out a little bit, so as I'm letting this out, it doesn't appear to be as smooth. Just a couple hundred rounds at the range and that'll go away. And I'll show you the reset. The reset on this is a little bit longer than the Glock, but it's still a nice reset, and then all the way out. There you go. From a quality perspective, I would pick any one of these. From a capacity perspective, the car has a 6+1 or a 7+1 option. The Glock currently is 6+1 and that's it, whether you have the pinky extender or not. And the PPS has 3/8 magazine options. The flat base plate one, which fits quite smooth, integrates with the grip. This one doesn't come with the gun, you'll have to buy this one separately, but they're readily available. This gives you 6 rounds. Then you have 2 extended mags. The 7-round extended mag gives you pretty much a 3-finger grip. Not a full 3-finger grip, but close. And it adds 1 capacity, so now you're at 7 plus 1. And the 8 plus 1 magazine is a true full 3-finger grip. So from the perspective of concealed carry to backup mag to range, this gun has some advantages in that you can easily get it to that full 3-finger grip. Now, the Glock, I'm sure that there'll be aftermarket mags that'll extend the capacity. The PPS, of course, the manufacturer's mags do. And the car is a little bit less aftermarket support for it. Now let me go ahead and put the flush magazine in this for you. And I'll put a flush magazine in each one of these, just so that I can give you an idea side by side of what they would look like in their smallest form if you were trying to actually carry them. So we'll do them small, medium, and large. And if I set them side by side, small, medium, and large, try to line them up nice and straight, get the back straight, you can see that the PPS is the largest, but not by much. It's just a little bit, and the Glock is a little bit bigger than the car. The Glock's actually a little bit more bigger than the car than the PPS is bigger than the Glock. There's a bigger difference there. And you can just see just how small the car is by comparison. And you can also see the grips. Now the grips, there seems to be less significant of a difference. The car is just a little bit shorter than the Glock, but not much. And the Glock's a little bit shorter than the PPS. So in grip height, you're much closer. And if I set them up on their ends, which is a little bit, turn them around to do that so that I can line them up back to back. You can see much more significant difference between the Glock and the car, and then a slightly smaller difference with the PPS. So any one of these you're going to be able to easily conceal carry. The car you can extremely easily put in the pocket, and the same with the Glock. I pocket carry the Glock 43 quite often. And the PPS is starting to get just to the edge of pocket carry, but you can see it's still quite doable. Now they do have different layouts on the trigger guards, but overall they're fairly close in size. So let's get to the point of which one would you pick. Overall, if I had to pick a winner from the group, it would be the PPS, and the reason for that would be the capabilities and the flexibility. The integrated grip with the magazine extenders, the replaceable back straps, the fact that it does have a Picatinny rail if you want to put a laser or light on it. Overall, this one is the most flexible and configurable of the three, and it's also the least expensive with their new pricing. So if you want to look at it from bang for the buck, definitely the PPS. If you've got to have the absolute smallest, go with the car. And the Glock is a good fit in between, especially if you're a Glock person, you carry a Glock 26 or something like that. You've got that familiar trigger. Overall, doesn't matter which one you pick, you're going to make a good choice. They're going to serve you well. They're going to be quite reliable. So if you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and have a great day. Thank you.